Here we go.
In close collaboration with police services of jurisdictions across the country, as well as our partners with Global Affairs Canada, in the fulfillment of our mandate to provide protection of designated persons, including foreign diplomats, and in relation to incidents that occur at or in the vicinity of embassies or consulates. For the moment, while the early stages of the investigation are taking place, we have increased security around embassies and consulate buildings here in Toronto and in the Ottawa region. There will be no tolerance for any form of intimidation, harassment, or harmful targeting of any communities or individuals in Canada. We want to assure that everyone's safety and security is at the forefront of everything that we do. The RCMP takes threats to security of individuals living in Canada very seriously and wants to reassure everyone that there is no indication of an immediate threat to public safety at this time. Thank you.
It's okay. And we'll take questions now if you guys have some questions.
Chief Levitt, you talked about working to figure out a motivation. We've already heard officials, including the Mayor of Toronto, seemingly link this to the heightened tensions in the Middle East. What's your response to that, and is that a fair positive fact?
It's too early for us to determine where the links lay or may not with those that are responsible for the shooting. That is obviously part of the active investigation, and we're just simply not in a position to comment on that any further.
Chief, as this is a federal investigation, could you speak to how that changes sort of the charges, the penalties, like how does that elevate, seriousness?
Section 83, which is a portion of the Criminal Code of Canada that deals with terrorism offences, if it's indeed determined to be that, is the mandate under which we operate as the National Police Service pursuant to our integrated national security enforcement teams. But to be clear, these are integrated units that undertake these investigations. So while it may be RCMP-led, it also has the Ontario Provincial Police. Toronto obviously will have a key role in this investigation, and the other large police services in the GTA in particular will be working with us diligently on this investigation, which is now, of course, a high priority matter for us to take on.
Deputy Chief, this does come after 3 shootings at synagogues in the city in recent days. Is there anything to suggest the incidents are connected, including you have recovered shell casings from both scenes, right? So from the synagogue shootings and here, will you be looking at whether they're...
We definitely will be... Sorry. We definitely will be looking at any possible connections. Obviously, it is far too early in this investigation, but we do not look at them in isolation. We look at them collectively, and if and how there is something that is found in that to support that, then that will obviously color and direct how the investigation unfolds. But it is not lost on us that the city has unfortunately experienced similar types of events, extremely serious and very concerning shootings at synagogues, and this very much factors into how we will approach this matter as well.
Sir, you mentioned there's evidence to suggest the shooting may have happened as early as 4:30 in the morning, when you guys were called there at 5:30. What time do you believe the shooting actually happened?
We believe the shooting happened at 4:30, around 4:29 in fact.
And then someone called in at 5:30?
Exactly. Or actually, an officer was flagged down. So there was a gap. This is why when we share the time of the event, we would like people to be aware that that would be the time. If you were in this area, if you have dash cam footage, for instance, it would have been around 4:30 or so that we believe the incident to have taken place. Again, I'll state that it's early, so investigators are still piecing things together. But this is an early understanding of when we think the timeline may have been.
And just to be flagged down police, was that something that works at the consulate?
I don't have that information to share at the moment.
Did both individuals that got out of the vehicle, they both had firearms and both shot at the building? Is that your understanding?
It's unfortunately because the investigation is still very active and early. I can't share that. I can tell you that there was a handgun that was discharged and that both individuals were involved in that discharge.
And did bullets actually go through the front door? Can you maybe elaborate a bit on the damage?
I haven't had a look myself or spoken specifically with anyone about the damage, but I can tell you, as most people would know, this is a heavily fortified building, very secure. The glass and the walls are reinforced, and so I don't believe that there was any penetration, if you will, of projectiles into the building. In fact, it's quite possible that people in the building would not have even noticed. That's how strong this building is behind me. So again, we're still piecing some information together, and as we're able to share more updates, we will do so. I can tell you that there were multiple shots fired. I don't have an exact number to share with you at the moment. More than one.
Chief Levy, just what's the collaboration right now with U.S. partners? Where does that stand, and what communication is there?
There's obviously formal communication going on with our U.S. counterparts, the FBI, the consulate itself here. We've had members at the consulate here this morning, along with Toronto Police, meeting with staff here and their senior executive to discuss the incident. Be rest assured, those conversations are also occurring in Ottawa between officials there and their U.S. counterparts at the embassy.
Premier Ford was just speaking, and he mentioned something about how people in sleeper cells are operating in Canada right now. Is there anything you can share about any intelligence about incidents like this one or others that we're seeing being ordered from outside the country?
Yeah, I don't have any information to provide at this time on any sleeper cells that may or may not exist in Canada. Suffice to say that our CSIS counterparts and the INSETs across the country are actively investigating matters such as this, and we will continue to do so. I think it's important that the public realizes that we've had a number of meetings and discussions already this morning with our federal counterparts, and that does include CSIS both here in Toronto region and at national headquarters, and they are tracking this incident very closely as well.
When you mentioned stepped up security at consulates, do you just mean American consulates in Canada or other countries' consulates and embassies as well?
Other consulates as well, including the Israeli consulate, will be seeing a change in the security posture here in Toronto, as well as Ottawa.
Any other countries?
Not that I'm prepared to speak to at this time. We'll be assessing that on an ongoing basis. But for now, the U.S. consulate and the Israeli consulate will see a change.
So why did you choose those two consulates specifically?
Well, I think it's fairly obvious based on the incidents that have occurred here in Toronto and elsewhere that these consulates deserve a heightened amount of vigilance and security at this time, in the hopes that we can bring the temperature down in the coming days and weeks.
Has something like this ever happened before with the U.S. consulate shooting?
Not in my memory. I can't recall us either investigating or becoming aware of a shooting here, Deputy.
I cannot recall a shooting. I do recall many, many years ago a firebomb incident. We're going back a ways. I mean, it won't be lost on anyone that the U.S. consulate is the site of many protests and demonstrations, as well as because of geopolitical events. The Israeli consulate has seen a lot of gatherings, people assembling, expressing themselves. So that this would be a scene where something like this would be where the manifestation of frustration with geopolitical events would happen is not lost on us, but that might in part explain why this building is as secure and as fortified as it is.
Do we know how many people were inside the building at the time of the shooting?
I believe there were people inside at the time. I can't confirm that. However, as I was mentioning earlier, the building is so fortified, it's quite possible that people inside would not have noticed that there were shots directed at the front of the building.
And are you able to confirm, I'm not sure, how many shots based on the casing?
So I'm afraid I'm not able to share that with you. I can say that it was multiple shots, and there were multiple casings.
Last question, please.
So what's entailed in determining if this is terrorism related? You mentioned that was a possibility.
Well, it's definitely a national security incident because we had the U.S. consulate, after all, struck by gunfire. Whether it's a terrorist event or not, that'll be subject to the investigation that will be undertaken in the coming days and weeks. And that'll be based on the evidence that's collected both here at the scene and subsequently through the work with our partners.
Can you just give us an update quickly on traffic? How long is southbound going to be closed?
I'm afraid I'm not able to tell you exactly. I mean, I could follow up with you if you like. I'd speak to the people here that are protecting the scene, and rest assured that as soon as we're able to open up traffic, we will. We realize that this is obviously an inconvenience for people, but the investigation is of a very high priority, and we are making sure that we are not leaving anything to chance and looking at every little detail.
I'd like to thank everyone for attending today.